Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Mindful in Minutes podcast. I'm Kelly, and today we are joined by not just a friend, but the friend, my bestie, the co-founder of Adventure Retreats, boss queen, supreme, world traveler, Poppy's godmother, the absolute just like yin to my yang heart, and yeah, Daniela Babura. Welcome back, Daniela.
Hi, Kelly. Wow, what an introduction.
I feel like there's so much more I could say about you. However, I know almost everyone listening is already familiar with you because they listened to our previous episode called like Following Your Dreams and Best Friend Shenanigans. And I still to this day get episodes on how much people enjoyed our cackling for like the almost 2 hours that we hung out last time when you were on Mindful in Minutes for the first time. So I hope everyone is excited to hear our shenanigans and cackling once again, because we are here to share the 2026 International Retreat, because this is something that Daniela and I designed together. And I knew when I shared it, I was like, I don't want to share it alone. I want to have the other brain. I was thinking about this. If you and I were like one brain, would you be the left side brain? No, you'd be the right side brain and I'd be the left side brain. You would be like the logistical side and I'm like the creative, like, what about this? And then you like make a plan and make it happen. Yeah, I think that's how it is. So if we were one brain, I'd be the left side and you'd be the right side, and we'd work together to create
Perfect harmony.
in perfect harmony, working together to create these retreats. So that's why we are here today. But before we share the retreat, Daniela, catch us up to speed. What's new? How's life? I think the last time we spoke, I mean, obviously we talk like every day, but the last time we recorded for Mindful Minutes, I'm pretty sure it was at the end of my pregnancy with Poppy, and I was recording some episodes ahead of time for my maternity leave. So that would have been almost a year and a half ago. So where have you been traveling? What's new with Adventure? Catch us up to speed.
So last year it took me to a lot of places. I did about 10 retreats last year, which is super exciting. I went to Sicily for a retreat for the very first time with Adventure in June, which was just amazing. And it's definitely something that's on our radar, Kelly, to do together in the future. Go to Italy and enjoy some wine and have some amazing food. And so that was super cool. And then we are actually now trying to tap into the corporate space. So it's something that we're looking to expand. And we did our first ever corporate retreat last year in March. And then we did it again, actually, a couple of weeks ago for the same company. And this time we went from a 1-day retreat to a 2-night retreat, which was really amazing. And it's just so incredible to see that growth and that ability to do what we do for, like the public, and to bring it into a corporate setting where the corporate girlies are basically public girlies. But yeah, it's just amazing to see more people, just really embracing like a wellness culture. So that's been really fun, and super excited to just have that opportunity to have a blank slate with you and kind of decide where we want to go. I think recently we were tallying up all the retreats we've done together, and it was like 12 retreats or something. I don't even remember, or 14. And it was just crazy to think that we've like created all these experiences together.
I know. I think when you say that like final number, it's kind of wild to me because it doesn't feel like that. I mean, it feels like we've known each other for forever, and it feels like, I don't know, but I don't think we've done like that many, but I guess it has. I don't know. I guess it has been. And just so many great experiences and fun places, return of places. And I think when we were together in Iceland in October, we both had this kind of like full circle moment. Like we called it like the homecoming retreat. But I just remember we had these like little moments of like, this is the first retreat that we did was together in Iceland. It's where we first met. And now like years later, we're back and like we're older, but like in different stages of life. And I remember we like could barely get people to come to Iceland the first time. We either broke even or maybe lost a little bit of money. It's unclear. And then we had like this full group of people. We felt like we'd really nailed down the itinerary, and it just felt like such a cool, like full circle moment of the things that we were just dreaming of before when we had first met in Iceland is now just like our everyday life. It's like, this is just what we do now. And it just was really cool and special and like just filled up my heart in a different way. And we were in like the exact same place, a different room though, but the same venue, but we were still like up late at night, just like cackling and having a good time, like looking out like the same windows, looking at the northern lights. It was just, I don't know, it was so special.
So special.
And just to think about what we used to only dream of and be like, maybe one day we'll get to do this. And then we were there and we're like, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it.
Yeah. It's such an amazing feeling. And yeah, it's just been so, I think probably one of the best outcomes of starting Adventure has been meeting you.
Oh my gosh. That
because it's like you can anticipate so much of like, we're going to create this like kick-ass company and we're going to get to do all these amazing things, but you never really think about like the people you're going to meet and like the friendships and like the soul sisters. And it sounds cliche in some ways, but I like would have never in a million years expected like gaining a bestie from starting a business. So yeah.
Okay. I feel the exact same way. It's like one of those, there's a handful of times in my life where I think about how the universe just did me such a solid. And one of those times that always comes to mind is when, I don't know, when the universe was just like, look at this posting on Yoga Trade, like respond to it. And it just kicked off this series of events that like made our paths cross. And so I feel so grateful for that. And that's actually part of what we wanted to talk about. Daniela and I did make a very like loose outline, just mostly so we could stay on track, because we could sit here and chat just like all day long about literally anything and everything. So we have a very loose outline, but one thing we did want to talk about, because this is really special to us, but it's also something we get a lot of questions about. And that is like, what if you go on a retreat by yourself, like making friends, like friendships being formed on these retreats, like how do we do like room assignments? And so we wanted to talk about some of that logistical stuff and also just talk about some of the amazing people and the friendships that have been made on these retreats. But I think before we do that, we need to actually reveal the retreat. So I am so excited. And part of the reason I had to have Daniela on is because I've never been to this place before. And so in 2026, we're going to go to Costa Rica, which I am so excited about. So many people have been asking me about Costa Rica. I feel like every time I'm on a retreat and they're like, where's the next one? Where's the next one? They're always suggesting Costa Rica. And so it feels right to finally do it. And I'm really excited about this retreat because one, it's a place I've never been to before, but I know Daniela loves it so much. I'm going to let her talk about how much she loves it in just a moment. But the Costa Rica retreat, so it's going to be February 4th through 9th, and it is the Awakened Alignment retreat. And so it is all chakra themed, which we love the chakras here. And it's a 6-day retreat, 5 nights, and every practice that we do is going to be centered around a different chakra. And then we're going to end with like this full chakra alignment and balancing practice. And I had so much fun when I was planning the actual content of this retreat, like dreaming, even though it's like almost a year out, I already have an outline for all of the classes because I was just feeling so inspired. I was like, and then we're going to start. And then the first day in the morning, we're going to do a grounding flow. And I was like writing all these notes, like we need to incorporate this pose and this pose. And then we're going to end with this meditation. And I was just feeling so inspired and so excited to be able to dive into like a chakra themed retreat. And it just felt right to me to do it in Costa Rica. So Daniela, can you just tell me about Costa Rica? Because I remember when we were talking about it. Also, we need to talk about the synchronicities of like this particular retreat, AKA Whale Tail, and how we both squealed in delight when we heard this. And we knew it was like the place to do it. But can you tell us a little bit about Costa Rica? Because I've never been. I've only heard from other people. But when I asked you, what do you think about Costa Rica? And I think you said something like, Costa Rica to me is what Iceland is to you. And I was like, say no more. I understand the feeling. So can you tell everyone about Costa Rica, maybe specifically the area we're going to be in, like why you love it so much and why it's so special to you?
Yeah, so Costa Rica, I went for the first time in 2018, and it was somewhere that had been on my bucket list for so long, just because, um, like there's a lot of a big focus on yoga and wellness, and just a lot of people have moved to Costa Rica and have embraced that lifestyle. And so you will see an abundance of, places that offer yoga classes and healthy eating and stuff like that. Like it's just a wellness person's playground in terms of travel and just really having accessibility to so many things. So it was on my forever bucket list. And I finally had the opportunity to go in 2018. And it was amazing. I think like for me, the biggest piece of Costa Rica that I absolutely love is just um, it's hard to describe because it's more of a feeling, but it's just like the warmth of the country and the people, and just like their lifestyle. Like I'm sure you've heard of the saying "pura vida," which essentially means pure life, but what it really means is just like appreciating the moment, living simply, embracing joy, and it's just kind of like all of the things that I think that we could really use more of in North America or wherever else outside of Costa Rica that we are. But it's the way of life. The people are so kind and so sweet. It's a very, very, very safe country as well. So it's really just like the warmth you feel being in the country. And then, of course, you're just surrounded by all of this beauty. So it's so insanely luscious. There's wildlife everywhere, so you can, see monkeys, sloths if you're lucky.
Ooh.
A lot of different types of birds and frogs and stuff like that. So it's definitely a place where it kind of feels like a little bit surreal. Like it's definitely not your everyday type of, location. And it's just yeah, it's just breathtaking. Like every time I go there, I just feel really, really amazing. And so since going in 2018, I've actually been almost 10 times. And so I make it a point every year to go. Selfishly, I suggest. I love returning in January, February, March because I'm from Toronto, Canada, and it's really, really cold. And so there's just nothing better than escaping the cold and going to a warm place. And it's just like Costa Rica just always feels like a warm hug. And, there's like really beautiful beaches. And the thing I love about the beaches is they're not, like maybe they're not like turquoise watered, really super clear beaches, but they're so raw and unfiltered and just like really, really, really stunning in like a very luscious way. And the food is so, so, so good. I'm a huge foodie. And it's just like the perfect balance of healthy eating, but also just like super, super tasty and nutritious. And like I said, because there's just like an abundance of focus on wellness within the country, there's just like so many cute cafes and just like a lot of really amazing places. So I've actually had the opportunity to travel almost the entire country. I've actually even driven from Costa Rica to Nicaragua. I didn't drive, but I was driven. So I really feel like I've explored a lot of the country. And so there's just like mountains, there's beaches on the different coasts on the Caribbean Sea. It's such a varied country that offers so, so much. And so for this retreat, we're actually heading to a new property, which is like a perfect blend of all of the Kelly Smith things. Like if Kelly Smith is going to do a hot location because she embraces like the cold, moody, like the
Yes.
Scotlands, the Icelands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the UK. I love like New Zealand, all of the, even coming up to my neighbor to the north, Canada. I do love I love like a moody like forest or mountain or like a little bit cold. I love the crisp, but I do think one of the biggest mistakes I made, and we were like texting about this, I don't know, way back when we were trying to decide where we wanted to go. And I told you, I think one of the biggest mistakes I made this last year was like, I didn't go anywhere warm in the winter at all. And by the time February rolled around, like I felt it. Granted, like Poppy was so little, it just like wasn't a good time for travel. But I was like, why am I still in Minnesota? You're in Toronto. And it's just like, why am I still here in this dark and cold? And I'm very excited that you nudged me in the direction of a warm location, because I feel so good knowing that by the time February hits and I'm in kind of that like dark, like this winter has been going on for so long, that I already have like this on the calendar and I'll be able to go. And I just, my soul is already uplifted knowing that I'll get a little sunshine in February.
It's truly the best. And like I said, selfishly, for the past like 5 years, I've been going to Costa Rica every January or February. We actually did New Year's there once too, which was really nice. But just getting away during that period for me is so key, because you have this huge lead up of the holidays being like so super hectic. And then you just know that in a month, or, however long, you have this like trip that's coming up that is going to get you out of like that headspace and just really be, utter relaxation. And that's exactly. So I think when we planned this retreat, I had like kind of come back from Costa Rica and I was on that Costa Rica high, and you were like, should we maybe do Costa Rica? And I was like, yes. And I will say that I went to Costa Rica at the end of January, and it really, truly carried me through the rest of the winter. Like it was probably like mid-March when I was like, okay.
Oh, all right. That's what I need to hear.
Yes.
And this will be perfect, because I think it'll be about like 6 weeks after the holidays. Because then like early January, you're kind of on your like wellness kick, like new year, new beginning. But then by the time you hit like early February, winter's just getting a little bit long. And as you said, like this venue is a new one for you, but it's been like on our radar, and you were looking at it independently. And then I had a good friend, Shauna, who was there doing a retreat. And I happened to then send you like one of her reels and be like, oh, my friend is at like this location. Have you ever thought about this one? Like it looks awesome. And it was already on your radar. And from like the first call you had with them, you knew it was like perfect, right?
I knew it was perfect for you. And like I said, because it's in the mountains, and, we have done a retreat in the mountains before, and it's really, really hard actually, because the mountains, or the jungle of Costa Rica is so stunning, but then it's also, the beaches are like really, really beautiful. And I always am super torn between being on the beach or being in the mountains. And with you, it was just like an easy decision to choose being in the mountains. But I love that, because like I said, I have done more retreats closer to the beach, and we are still going to go to the beach. And it was just like so insanely like what are the chances that if you're a listener and you don't know, Kelly is obsessed with whales, but there is an actual beach that is called like Whale Tail, and it looks like a whale tail. If you want to look it up, it's Uvita, Uvita. And it's a little bit farther than we could have gone to a regular beach, but we're going to just take that extra 20-minute drive to go to this Whale Tail beach, because I think it's just going to be super spectacular.
And it was the one I remember when you had a call with them, and we were kind of talking about like the itinerary, and you sent me this voice note, and you'd be like, and you'll never believe it, I think this is the place. They were telling me about beaches, and they said there's this one that they love and they recommend. And you're like, you're never going to believe what it's called. And you're like, it's called a Whale Tail. and then I responded immediately being like, the universe is giving us a sign. We have to go. This is perfect. And we knew it was just like, we're getting both whales and mountains and everything. And so I think it's going to be and the food looks phenomenal. Yeah. When I talked to Shauna about it, she was like, you cannot beat the food. She was like, it was so good. And the yoga shell is like perfect. She said you can like hear animal sounds like as you're eating breakfast. And she said it's just like so magical.
It's super magical, I think, because it's so a lot of the times when we've done retreats in beach towns before, like they do tend to be a little bit hectic and there's a lot of people. And so this is going to be really nice because it's going to be very secluded, for our time there. Obviously, we are going to be leaving throughout the stay, so we are going to be exploring. But I think just like being there is going to just be so special, and being there together and just taking in, all the surroundings and the vibes are going to be so good. But yeah, the property itself, actually, Kelly, reminds me a lot. And I said this to you. We have a really beautiful property in Peru that Kelly and I have both been to, that we love. It's called Samadhi. And this place reminds me a lot of Samadhi. So it's family owned, and, you know, they grow a lot of the ingredients that they use in their cooking. And this is the first place that actually, fun fact, offers 4 meals. So
that was also something we were like, Whale Tail Beach meals. And 4 meals a day. Like, sign us up.
So they do a pre-breakfast, and then we do yoga, and then they do an actual breakfast, and then a lunch and a dinner and snacks. And they have a pizza night, which is very exciting because we love a little pizza night and maybe some salsa. So yeah, it just reminds me so much of it, which again, I knew that when I got that vibe from it, that I was like, yeah, this is the place. So,
and that's one of my favorite parts, I think, of the retreats. Every time we do them is like, it's like the moments in between the moments. Like, of course, I love leading the classes and the workshops, and I want to talk about those in just a minute. But when I think about the retreats and like the really special moments, it's like the little funny things that happened, or like pizza night where we all just like get together and have pizza and like have fun and just talk about whatever, and just really enjoying each other's company, and also getting that alone time, because I get overstimulated easily, especially when it comes to noise. And so I do love the quiet and like the peacefulness. And I don't know, that's just one of my favorite parts, is like not only the time to slow down and be still and be alone and be quiet, but then also the fun moments in between the practices that are just like fun or silly or like moving or special. And like the relationships, not only the ones that you and I get to build, but also the ones that we get to facilitate and like see happen in real time, which is always super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do feel like this is such a great place. And we found that even in Iceland, we just would always, as a group, collectively spend extra time, you know, like we'd have the meal and then we would continue to sit and just talk and, you know, cackle with friends.
And like, I think chat about whatever.
Yeah, just chat. And I think those are truly the most special moments, kind of circling back to, you know, what I said about starting a business, not realizing that I would meet a best friend, but also on these retreats, like we wanted to create these experiences for people. But I think the byproduct of creating this like really amazing community was something that you don't really anticipate, like all the amazing people that you're going to get to meet. So that's been really neat. And, we love like when we launch retreats and then people that have been on our retreats before book it right away, because it's just so exciting, because you already know that there's going to be like a reunion, which is so fun. And we do have a lot of people coming. So one of the women that came to Iceland, she's coming to Scotland, and she booked Costa Rica. And so, yeah, it's just so nice to just have those reconnections with people over the years. It's been so nice.
Mm-hmm. It has. Okay, so I think let's talk about the itinerary, because I'm really excited about it. This is something that maybe actually we can take it one step back and talk a little bit about how we pick a retreat and design it. So I think anyone who listened to our first episode, or I talk about this a lot, but the process of picking a location is kind of twofold. So I always do a survey every year where I send out a survey with like a handful of places that I'm thinking of and I would be excited about. And then I ask all of you, like, where would you want to travel to most? And then often whatever the top pick is, that's what we decide to do. And Costa Rica has, for the last few years, it's been on the survey, and it's been like up there, but it's never quite been like the one, but it's always been a place that people are really interested and really excited about. And then this year, like everyone is just like super excited about Costa Rica. And so we knew it was right. It was the right time. So there's that piece. But then also there's other elements too. So when Daniela and I start talking about the retreat, we talk about like the inspiration and the feeling and the vibe. And this is what Daniela is good at, so many things, but she is particularly like exemplary at being able to take some of my like harebrained ideas and like make them come to life. And so understanding like the visions, when I talk, often I'll send her like a voice note and I'll be like, this is what I want the retreat to feel like this is the vibe. I'll just send her this like unhinged voice note of just like different keywords that I feel like will be essential for like this retreat. And they like don't even necessarily make sense, but she gets it. She understands. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be chakra themed. And so I'm thinking that it's going to be all about like awakening, alignment, opening, grounding. We need to be like visually inspired with our eyes, but also feel grounded with our feet and a place where our hearts can just flourish. And like, I'll send these crazy voice notes to her, and then she just like magically helps bring it all to life. And Costa Rica felt like such a good place to do this kind of chakra themed retreat, because it is a place where we can, you know, really be grounded with our feet because of like the lush nature, but then also really be inspired with our eyes. Like the heart chakra is green, so then all of the green of the jungle is really going to open up, but there's water elements, which is like that sacral chakra, and the bright sun, which is the third chakra. And we're going to be hanging out and talking, really cultivating our throat chakras. And then there is sort of this element of like opening up the connection between you and that which is greater than you, which happens a lot on retreat because you're just being intentional and slowing down. And so it just felt like such a good place to really dive into the chakras. So that's kind of how we, like, I would, again, like kind of left brain and right brain, these retreat locations is kind of thinking about like, what do we want the theme to be? What location are people excited about? And then how do we sort of match those two together to create these really special experiences? So when we look at the itinerary, and I'm going to need you to take on some of these things, Daniela, but I want to talk about kind of like how the daily flow goes. And then maybe you can tell us about our excursions that I'm so excited about. But basically the daily flow is we wake up in the morning, and now we know we get pre-breakfast because they do 4 meals a day, which we almost always recommend or request at venues that we at least have like little snackies and coffee and tea before practice. But I'm thrilled to hear they just have set into the schedule this pre-breakfast, because my blood sugar needs it. And then usually we have our morning practice. It ends up being about 90 minutes. So we do maybe an hour-ish of yoga. It's very all levels. I like to play around with different types of yoga, different practices. Again, every practice that we do will be inspired by a different chakra. So we might be doing a lot of like grounding poses, foot balances, things like that. When we do like the second chakra, we might be focusing on like hip openers, that sort of stuff. So we'll do an hour-ish of yoga, and then we end with about 30 minutes of meditation. And we usually do a different style of meditation. I'll hold your hand through it. It's not like I'll say, okay, now you're going to meditate. Like I'll see you in 30 minutes. I give a lot of guidance, but then also give you some time to do your own practice. And then we have breakfast. Maybe have some time. We like to call it divine laziness, but some time to just like take a shower, relax. I think they have a spa on property. Is that right? At this location?
They do, yeah.
Which like, sign me up. You could do something like that. And then we might have either like a workshop or an excursion or something that day. And then we have dinner. And then often we might do like an evening practice, either yoga nidra, an evening meditation. And each practice has its different theme. And then we're going to do 2 workshops. So we're going to do an energetic alignment workshop, which is where I will be teaching you how to kind of do energy healing 101. So I'll teach you the foundations of energy healing. I'm level 3 Reiki trained, but this will be kind of just general energy healing where I'll teach you how to activate that universal healing energy, because it's really supportive for the chakras and it's really designed to work on our energetic highway. So I'll teach you all about that, how to access that energy, tap into it, and then we'll get to practice doing some energy healing on ourselves and also others if you'd like, how you do that and how you can use it to clear out stagnant energy, clear out any blockages, send energy there if you need it. For a lot of people, like if we're feeling really low energy, our third chakra might be a little bit blocked or a little bit stagnant. So how can we get that going? And we'll also have some fun figuring out, I'll bring some fun little toys and tools. We can figure out which of your chakras are kind of open or maybe a little bit slower or overactive. And it's just going to be a lot of fun, and you'll learn how to do this energy healing. Then our second workshop is going to be all about the heart chakra. So we're going to be doing loving kindness, specifically twin meditation. So I'll teach you the foundations of loving kindness meditation in general. And then I'll talk more specifically about TWIM and how that can be a really beautiful practice and supportive practice for unconditional love for yourself and others, and also how you can use it for forgiveness, which is a big part of the heart chakra. And and so we'll do that. We'll end with like a guided practice and really just working on feelings of openness, forgiveness, inner peace, unconditional love for yourself and others. And so I'm excited about that because you guys know TWIM is a style of meditation that got me really into meditation, like really kind of sparked this thing. But maybe Daniela. So that's kind of what, in terms of the practices, you can expect. But can you tell us about our excursions?
Yes. So we do like to, within the itinerary, I think we kind of like to see what our options are. So, what's within, a good driving distance, what's around. And that's kind of how we decide. We pick our excursions also based on things that we just think people are really going to love and are really going to feel kind of that cultural immersion where, you went to Costa Rica and you actually got to experience maybe not just like staying at a resort the entire time and you're actually experiencing some of the local culture and seeing the beautiful sights. And so this is super exciting because, like I said, we have not been at this location before. So there is nothing I love more than going to a location for the first time and seeing the sights with fresh eyes. So despite having been to Costa Rica so much, like I'm so excited for this experience. So we absolutely need a beach day. And so that is something that was a non-negotiable for your beach girly right here. So
I do love a beach day, like one beach
one
day.
Day is more than enough for Kelly on a 6-day vacation. So we are going to the Whale Tail Beach sandbar, which is just visually stunning. I urge you all to just like look it up. But along the way to the beach, we are going to make a couple of stops and we're going to have an opportunity to have lunch there. And so it's just going to be like a really fun day out. We typically like to have the first full day of the retreat be really grounding. And so we'll usually stay at the retreat center the first day and just like really ground and really relax. And it's a great day to get to know each other. And so by the time we start going on the excursions, we've all just become like this big family and it just makes all the excursions that much more fun. So beach day is something we're going to be doing. There is also a cloud forest that is very visually just like so stunning. If you've ever seen pictures or videos of Costa Rica, you probably have seen a cloud forest. So they're usually these suspension bridges that are, just within this large forest sanctuary. And there's like a lot of different animals and scenic trails, and you'll, likely see sloths and, like I mentioned, monkeys and stuff like that. And so we're going to just do like a really beautiful meditative walk through the cloud forest. So again, just very, I think very peaceful. It was something that I did the first time I went in 2018, and I just still think about it to this day because it's just not something that you can do everywhere. It's just very unique to Costa Rica. And so that I'm super excited for. We're also going to be doing a trip to a waterfall, which is, again, so iconic. Costa Rica, going to go to a waterfall. We're going to have an opportunity to swim. It's going to be a bit of a hike there and hike back. But again, something that's super Costa Rican. So really looking forward to that. And the place where we're staying at, Rio Chiripo, they actually have a reforestation program. And so we're going to be planting trees together, which, again, something so special about just getting your hands dirty and being at one with the earth and just really knowing that you're going to be leaving a piece of you there. So we're going to be doing that and having a really nice lake picnic. And so with a 5-night retreat, this is kind of going to take us throughout the entire experience. So we'll start the mornings with yoga and meditation with Kelly, and then we'll usually have one of these excursions throughout the day. So some of them, the beach day is going to be a full day thing. Everything else will probably be a couple of hours, and then we'd get back to the hotel to enjoy.
Okay. I am very excited about all of this. And as you were talking, I'm thinking in my head which excursion I would like to do that coordinates with which chakra day, because that's how my brain works. And I'm like, well, I hope we could do the cloud forest on the throat chakra day because that mist is so good for clearing out the throat chakra and focusing on that energy. So I'm really excited about all of that and just all the different kind of like types of nature that we'll get to see while we're there, because nature is just like so grounding and so uplifting for the heart and the soul. And something I've personally been focusing on is spending less time on my phone and spending more time like enjoying just like the small moments of life. And so this sounds really exciting and like inspiring for me as well to really do that and just like be present in nature. And so the last thing that we wanted to talk about in our very loose outline is we want to talk about making friends on these retreats, because here's the deal. You know, you guys can always count on me to give you the real deal. You guys know I already opened this up to the wait list. So there's not a lot of spots left in this retreat. There's 6 spots left, which I guess is that's a pretty good amount. There's 6 spots left. Our private rooms are full. We have, I think, a couple spots in a triple room and then some double rooms. So this can be done a few different ways. Absolutely. And we're going to give you a code in a little bit for $300 off any booking in a double or triple room. So if you are listening to this and you have a bestie or a family member or a friend or someone that you love and you're like, we should go to Costa Rica together, you absolutely can both use this code and come together in a double room. We would love to give you the code to do that with your friend. The other option, and this is the one that we personally love just because our friendship was formed on a retreat, is if you're wanting to make new friends. And we want to talk about this process because I know it can feel kind of scary to go on a retreat by yourself or be like, what if I don't know someone? How does my roommate get assigned to me? We're going to talk about kind of that process, maybe ease some of your fears. And then we also just want to talk about some of our favorite friendships that have been formed on retreats that we've seen like with our own eyes. So we do have these 6 spots left. So if you're listening and you're like, I want to go, I highly recommend just click on the link now. Actually, let's just give them the code now, Daniela, because if anyone's listening and they're like, I need to go now, the code is going to be new friends, all caps, new friends. I'll put it in the show notes too. It's going to be $300 off any booking in a double or triple room. If you have a friend, text them right now, send them the link and say, we're booking a double room. And then there's like a place in the notes, right, where they can say, I'm rooming with Daniela. Yeah. And then we'll see that and we'll make sure that you guys are in the same room together. So if anyone's listening and they're like, I need to book immediately, that's how you would do it. And you're going to use new friends. I'll put it in the show notes as well for $300 off a booking in a double or a triple room. But I want to talk about the alternative option, which is where you are bold and you come on the retreat by yourself, knowing that you're going to make new friends. So the first thing that I want to talk about is basically how we assign rooms, because Daniela and I do this together. Often we know the people at least like a little bit, even if it's just kind of like these internet friendships. So if I'm like, oh, I know so-and-so, like we DM sometimes, like they like this. We do our best to do like a personality match where we're like, oh, so-and-so likes this. And then Daniela might be like, oh, I know this person coming. They like that. And so we'll try to match it and kind of play like roomy friendship matchmaker in a way where then we can, kind of match you guys that way. If you have similarities, you also in the notes, you can make some notes about like what you like, and we play matchmaker. So we do that. And we always try to, I feel like we do a really good job of assigning people together in rooms. We always like, if you're a woman traveling alone, you'll be assigned with another woman, of course. And we just try to be really mindful and take what we know about you, and we have a lot of fun being like, oh, I think this person will have a lot of fun with this person. Or like, oh, I know so-and-so, like she really likes to read. And then Daniela would be like, oh, that would be perfect for this person. Like she loves to read too. And we kind of will match you guys up that way with different similarities. But you have done this more than I have, Daniela. And so I could definitely talk about some of the favorite friendships that I've seen be formed, but I'm curious if you could share some of your favorite ones.
So I have 3.
Okay. And it's not ours.
Oh, well, ours is the favorite, but
4, obviously.
I have 3. Ours is the favorite, but, and let's like, for anyone that hasn't listened to our first episode, we, Kelly and I just talked online for a couple of months trying to plan a retreat, and then finally met face to face in Iceland. And I don't know if
it was like a blind date
has had this type of experience before, but it did not even take, there was like I don't even know if there was like 30 seconds of awkwardness. It was just like Kelly running up to me with like open arms and me just like opening my arms right back, and just, it was just instant. And so, yeah, that was just, yeah, it's just like super, super crazy. So some of my favorite friendships that I've seen formed are all people that, two of them are people that I've grouped together. One of them is one that Asma, who's my business partner, did. So I'll start talking about them because they are, I think, probably our Adventure MVPs. So shout out to Mariana and Lindsay. So Mariana and Lindsay were grouped together in a triple room in 2019 in Peru on a retreat. And they, this was right before COVID, so 2019. And they just became like instant best friends on the retreat, went back home, and then COVID hit, and they actually, their friendship just like blossomed. They spent every single day FaceTiming, which was just like, you know, how COVID was, and they were just each other's support person, which was super amazing. When COVID ended, Lindsay actually booked our Egypt trip, and Mariana booked the trip. Lindsay actually booked it in secrecy and surprised Mariana and showed up at the retreat, which was just like so special. And then they've come back on retreats on their own and have done more retreats with us and have brought friends. And then they just did the Iceland retreat together last year. And so they've been on about 4 or 5 retreats each with us, which is so special. And I still see them hanging out when I see them on Instagram and stuff. And it's just been like this really, really beautiful friendship. They live in different states, and they're still like real best friends to this day, which is just amazing that they met on a retreat.
I love that.
Yeah, so special. My second one is Alyssa, who
we love Alyssa.
We love Alyssa. She's on Kelly's team.
Yes, she's now on Team Yoga for You. Fun fact, I didn't tell you this, Daniela, but Alyssa and I are going to record an episode on confidence. And I think I'm just going to bring a mic to Scotland because she's coming to Scotland.
Fun.
And I think we're going to do like my first in person, just like share a mic. And we're going to record because we haven't seen each other, and she'll be there in Scotland. But yes, Alyssa is now on Team Yoga for You. But before that was a long-time Mindful Minutes listener. She's going to be listening to this because she's going to be the one that puts together the cute little Instagram story. Probably pictures of you and I like running into each other's arms, linking to the episode. So shout out to Alyssa. But yes, she is also an Adventure MVP.
Yeah, so she came on a retreat with me, and I put her in a room with a girl actually from Mexico City who was visiting on the retreat. So I wasn't sure about the language barrier because I didn't know how well she spoke English, and I grouped them together, and it turned out that Alyssa is fluent in Spanish.
Yeah, I know. When I told her I was learning French, she was like, Kelly, why are you learning French? I could just teach you Spanish.
And so their friendship was just like insane. Like they got along so well, and they were just making plans about Alyssa going to Mexico City to visit her and stay with her. And it was just like the friendship was just so beautiful to see, kind of like that cross country cultural difference, but just like so in sync. Like it was amazing. Yeah, it was really, really great. And then the last one I wanted to mention was just the 2 girls that came to Portugal with us, which was Lily and Kelly. Again, just, you know, different states, just 2 women that came on these retreats together and just like are still friends to this day, which is just, it's so special and it's so nice. And I will say that like, even if you're not rooming with somebody, like you will get really close to everybody on the retreat, but there's something so special about rooming with somebody and just like those nights where you just like stay up talking and you're just, you know, you're like, we should probably go to bed, but we could just talk forever. I just feel like those experiences and those moments are so rare and kind of just like take you back to when you were younger at like a sleepover.
Okay, yes, absolutely that. A couple of my favorite friendships. I loved Brogan and Elizabeth's friendship in Iceland. They are so much fun. I believe they still chat. And we get to see Elizabeth again in Scotland. And then also my mom, Mama Smith, who has been on a couple retreats, she actually made a really good friend in Peru, and they still email. So she made friends with a woman named Sophie, and she it just was having like her and my mom got really close. And anyone who has had the pleasure of meeting Mama Smith, she's kind of like the people's mother. In a way, like she has a really big heart. She's so sweet and she's a very good listener. And she's just one of those people that you could just like tell whatever is on your mind and on your heart, and she will just listen with like love and care. And they became really close. And because I was, doing some logistical things like behind the scene and stuff, I didn't know it, but they were hanging out all the time because my mom was there and like we were roommates. And they still to this day email because Sophie was having a trickier time after the retreat, just some big life changes and stuff. And she and I were a similar age, and they just like formed this friendship, and they still to this day email each other. And my mom does that with other people she went on retreats with, and she'll be like, oh, did you see so-and-so? She'll be like, oh, did you see what Bertha's up to? Oh, did you see what this? Oh, did you see Sophie and Sophia, got together? Oh, did you hear that this happened? And she still like emails with people that she's been on retreats with, which I think it's been really cool to also see like my mom form friendships too. And like, that's been really special. And it's cool to just see, and she'll just fill me in. She'll be like, oh, I was, I got an email from so-and-so last night. And she'll like fill me in on what's happening with them. And it's just, or she'll be like, oh, did you see that, oh, did you see that Kirsten and her sister got together? She's having another baby. All these things. She'll like get me filled in because she still like emails with them. And that's something that I think is really cool too, because when we think about these friendships being formed, we maybe think about people who are in similar stages of life or similar ages. And that's not necessarily the case, because I feel like my mom has formed these really beautiful friendships with women, as, younger than her children, but also older than her. And like, that's been really cool to see.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that too, just in terms of like the demographic of like who comes on these retreats, and just that the stages of life, I think is truly my favorite part, is just being able to meet people of different ages, and just to have, them share their experiences. It's just been really, I think, one of the greatest gifts for me that I've been able to receive. And I feel like a lot of the people attending feel the same way. And so our retreats really do vary. And so we have people kind of as young as their early 20s, and then people in their 70s. And so it's like, or anywhere in between. And so there is no age range or like age requirement or anything. Like we really do open these retreats to everyone. And we really feel like everyone can just bring so much in terms of sharing their life experience. And then it's kind of like that give and take of what people, you're meant to be there to hear that person talk about this. And so I feel like personally, I've gained so much wisdom from so many of the women that have come. And it's just so special. I love hearing that about Mama Smith.
I know. I think it's so fun. She'll just like, she is. And she'll just like come over in the morning and I'll be like, oh, hi, Mom. Cause she comes and helps with the kids sometimes. I'm like, hi, Mom. How are you? Like, what's new? And she just, she'll be like, oh, she'll either say, I got an email, or she'll say, oh, I saw on Instagram. That's like, she does it. My mom has like probably like 50 Instagram followers, but like they're all friends that like she's made on retreats, and then like she follows them, and she loves to just be like, oh, I saw so-and-so, and oh, did you see she got engaged? She looked so happy. And she just loves to like just share what her friends are up to. And I think it's so sweet. And then she has some of these deeper friendships with people where they'll email and they'll, talk about like their real life stuff. And it's just so cool to see that like in real life with someone that's so close to me and near and dear to my heart. And like she comes and she obviously knows me, but she doesn't know anyone else. And she's so sweet. She tries to like kind of stay like low key. She'll always be like, do you want me to tell people that I'm your mom? And I'm like, Mom, they're going to know within like 2 seconds, because we have like this, you're my roommate. I'm not going to be like, oh, I just picked up this random like woman in her 60s to be my roommate. Like we have the exact same like mannerisms, and I call you Mom. I think they're going to know. But she always offers to come incognito if I want. Which is like, it's so funny because like you've met her, and so everyone always says that we have a lot of the same mannerisms and the same smile. So anyways, But I don't know, it's just been really cool. And it's really fun to just see the friendships happening and the connections. And like when we were in Iceland and some of the women, we were doing a hike and they didn't really feel like they wanted to go on a hike. So they just stayed back and just like hung out and had like a really fun, relaxing, like quiet day where they just went for a little walk around the property and like had coffee together. And it was just so sweet. And they said it was like the best day.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like also something to add to when we talk about the itinerary and just like all of the things that we do make everything optional. And so, and we'll thoroughly explain what everything entails. And so we do have some people who maybe are a bit uncomfortable or, can't necessarily go on long hikes and stuff like that. So we do try our best to accommodate. And so, like Kelly said, you can always stay back or we can have like an alternate activity for you. And so there's definitely ways that we try to make the experience really accessible for everybody. And just know, I think something that is kind of, maybe potentially a little bit scary for somebody kind of looking to do something like this for the first time is that you're not really ever alone. I would say like the biggest, the most alone you'll ever be is on your flight.
And often, but sometimes there's people on your flight too, and we'll let you
together.
know. Yeah, we'll let you know like, oh, so-and-so is on that same flight from Chicago or whatever. So if you guys do even want to meet up in the airport and have a travel buddy, we'll let you know.
Yeah. And so in terms of like how we structure our welcome and, getting people together is we do create a WhatsApp group chat a few days before the retreat kicks off. And we'll share a transportation schedule in that chat. And we really like make sure every single person joins that chat because we just want people to really be in the know of what's going on and also have like, make sure they feel comfort in knowing that there's a point or several points of contact should anything go wrong or should they have a flight delay or anything. So, Kelly and I are always across what's happening with all of the guests and there you'll be able to see the other guests. And so we'll send updates, sometimes people will introduce themselves, share their like favorite animals and stuff like that. Like we've had all kinds of kooky introductions. And then we meet at the airport and, that's where
I'm always there.
Kelly's always there with open arms.
Yes. And I'm like, you made it. I'm always so excited to see everyone. So it's me and Daniela usually, but always me. Daniela sometimes is already at the property doing things, making the magic happen, but I'm always there. And it's a no mindful left behind situation.
So we just want people to know that you're always taken care of in that sense, and you're not really ever truly alone. And then from that point forward, we always travel together, and we maintain the chat to make any updates. And I think from this, from like 1 or 2 days in, everybody just gets like really, really close, and you kind of get to know each other a lot better. And then people will choose to do stuff or not do stuff in groups. And then there's always options for people. And like Kelly said, if somebody doesn't want to do a hike, there's options to kind of like go to like a cafe or stay back. So it's just very fluid, and we're not super regimented or super strict with the schedule. We do want everybody to really feel like they're getting what they want out of the experience. And so that's something that I think a lot of people sometimes are like, oh, yoga retreat, like how many times do I have to do yoga in a day? And I can't do yoga. So Kelly, actually, maybe that's something, because we get that question a lot, is just like, what if I don't practice yoga? I'm too scared to come because I can't do yoga.
Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, I love this question. So yes, everything on the schedule is optional. And we really mean that. We're not like, it's optional and then you feel pressured to like do it anyway. Like it's truly optional. We want you to get what you need out of this time for yourself. And in terms of the yoga practice, or on the flip side too, because I get this one sometimes where people are like 30 minutes of meditation. Like I always listen to the 5-minute episodes. I don't know if I could do like 30 minutes. And there's a couple of things that I want to say on that. First of all, it's always optional. So sometimes like there'll be some mornings where if you wake up and you're like, I'm just really tired, although jet lag shouldn't really be an issue with Costa Rica, right? It's not really a big time change.
No, I think it's actually the same. It's central time. I think
it's the same if you're in central time. And so then it would, depending on which coast you're coming from, or if you're one of my beautiful international listeners, there'd be some jet lag for you. But sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're just feeling really tired. And it's like, you know what I really need is some extra sleep. Like, beautiful. I love that. Go back to bed. Get your sleep. I love that. If you're worried about doing the yoga, I give lots of options. I always teach all levels. And so I give lots of options. I love beginners. I can, work with pretty much anything. If you let me know if there's something particular, you want extra knee modifications, or you're newer to the practice, like you'll have lots of opportunities to fill me in on all of that. And I can help support you wherever you're at. But know that the practices are all levels. It's never anything like too crazy or like super advanced. And I encourage you to just do what feels best for your body. And then in terms of the meditation, I will walk your hand through it. And so it'll never just be like, here's, 30 minutes of silence, figure out what to do. I will hold your hand through the whole process. And we've had people that were new to yoga or hadn't done it, or maybe they recently had like a knee replacement. And so they needed different options, different modifications. Like I'm there to help support you. And I believe that it's my job as the teacher to meet you where you're at and help support you and your practice. And that's going to look different for everyone. So I give a lot of options, and I love beginners. I just love my yogis. So yeah, I don't know. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Yeah. I will say that I think you're a great teacher, and I do think you teach to all levels, and it's really nice. And also there's no shame in taking a quick little nap during one of Kelly's.
Yes, no shame in that. No shames in taking breaks and, taking what you need. And
taking
we do
what
different
you need.
We do different styles too. So sometimes we'll do more of a slow flow. Sometimes, we might do something that's a little bit more vigorous, but I'll give a lot of options. I like to sometimes put in like some yin poses, which is kind of slower, more meditative, works on the connective tissue. So every morning when you show up for practice, it's going to be something a little bit different. And so even if you are someone who's been practicing yoga for a while, you might get to try a new style or some different techniques. And so that can always be really fun and exciting too.
Yeah. And I think too, like we structure the itinerary in a way where I think there's a lot of intention that gets put into everything. And then, so I do think that while we do encourage people to take what they need, I do think that I've had people come on the retreat before that have never done yoga before, and they just like really push themselves, and like maybe they don't necessarily really want to come to the yoga, but they'll end up coming anyway. And I think by the end, they're like, wow, like that, I feel great. Like you just really do feel really good about yourself. I mean, I know I, sometimes resist yoga, and I'll never forget. It was like my yoga teacher training when they're like, the days you don't want to do yoga, you need it the most. And I tell myself that too. But yeah, I just feel like the benefits are just like so super amazing. And then, so obviously it's something that we encourage, but we like completely understand. And like Kelly said, there's like no judgment. Like we really do want people to take what they need, but also, I feel like,
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually thinking about you in Scotland this morning because Pork Chop woke up like before the sun, as he likes to do. And I was feeling so stiff because I don't do yoga every day. And I've been loving trying to go back to classes, but this has just been kind of a really wacky month. And so it's been hard for me to make a class. And I was just feeling really kind of stiff. And I was like, I could not wait until we're in Scotland. And every morning there's dedicated yoga and meditation time. And like you just feel so good starting your day that way. And this morning, I was like trying to stretch a little bit, do like, I was doing a little fire log and like a low lunge because the hips were feeling tight. Because I've been on like 2 jogs all month. And so my body, after like a whole, I only jog if it's nice out. That's it. I am not running in bad weather or the cold. It's not happening. So I've done my 2 jogs of like 20, 25 so far. And so I was feeling quite stiff. And I was just like thinking about how good that's going to feel. And I was like, I can't wait to have just like these like 6 days of like dedicated time for like movement, meditation. And also like for any of my parents listening, my moms, being able to have uninterrupted meals. I am so like to be able to eat a meal and to not have to get up. This is, a very niche thing. This is only going to resonate with a certain group of people, but to not have anyone calling your name, to not hear mom, 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 or like take a bite, eat a meal that's like moderately warm because you've been chopping strawberries instead of eating whatever it is. I always get so excited to just have an uninterrupted adult meal.
Yeah.
And like, it's one of those little luxuries that like I didn't realize was a luxury until I had 2 really little ones that I'm like the primary parent for. And so it just, yeah, it was just, I don't know. I'm really excited about that too, having uninterrupted meals.
I think too, somebody who's not a mom or a part-time mom, more on that later. But
you are a part-time mom. You're a bonus mom.
I'm a bonus mom. So we do have the kids. We have 2 kids, 50% of the time. But I prepare a lot of meals.
That's true.
am in the kitchen, I would say at least like 3, sometimes 4 hours a day with all the preparation I've been doing. I'm in an era. I'm in a bit of a caretaking era. And so I have been really trying to make a lot of things from scratch. And so I have been in the kitchen a lot. But even prior to this, I just love having meals cooked for me and having like knowing that they're nutritious and just like really, really good for you, and just not having to do any of the prep work or the clean work is just
or the
like
mental load of figuring out what am I gonna make.
Like grocery shopping.
Yes, none of that.
None of that. And so we do have like, I would say that like the common theme I always hear on retreats is people being like, oh my God, like how am I going to go back to life and have to prepare my own meals and make sure I'm getting like 16 different vegetables in one sitting? Like, it's just such a rarity. And it's just one thing that I think people like don't necessarily anticipate. And then they go on a retreat and they're just like blown away by the amount of like good food, and like you're eating so much. And one thing I also always hear is people being like, these meals are like so big and I think I'll never be able to eat again. And then I'm like hungry again for lunch. And then I'm like hungry again for dinner, which is just like, yeah, because I think we're doing a lot and, you know, we're sweating and just like out in nature and walking. And so I think our bodies are just like craving these nourishing meals. And so I really do feel like I have seen myself, like aside from being, a host on these experiences, like there's just something so, so special about being on a retreat and having a schedule and having scheduled meal times and having having the yoga and meditation with Kelly is just like a dream for me. It's just so, so amazing.
I am going to cap it off with a quote from my mother that she tells me every time she goes on a retreat with me, and it's like always a day before we leave, and I'm like, oh Mom, how are you feeling? Like, you ready? You packed all of that? And she goes, Kel Bell. She's like, Kel Bell, I just love these things. All I have to do is just show up at the airport and everything else is taken care of me. She's like, and you know what? Your father drives me to the airport, so I don't even have to do that. All I have to do is pack my suitcase and everything is taken care of from the moment I arrive until the moment I'm back and your father picks me up again. And she says that every time. She's like, I just love to travel with you. Everything's taken care of. I wake up every day being like, I don't even have to think about what I'm going to do today. I know it's going to be perfect. So of course that is a biased source because it is my mother, but I will say, anyone who has a mother out there, they can be hard to please. Okay. So yes, it is biased. And also moms can be hard to please sometimes.
Yeah.
So that is her quote that I think of every time. She's like, all I have to do is just show up and everything else is taken care of for me. I love it. And so I think we just leave it on that quote and let the testament of my bestie and I sitting here chatting with each other about, I don't know, just our dreams coming true. And I often think about so many things like, what if I wouldn't have been like, and this is going all the way back to when we talked about how we met, but like you had just posted something on this website called Yoga Trade where yoga teachers can find jobs. And I was like, what if I just didn't apply to that? How would my life be so different? That kicked off everything, not only like the budding of our businesses and like following our dreams, but also like us meeting and having this like really deep friendship that started as like, work besties, but now is so much more like your Poppy's godmother. And it's just, we talk like every day. It's just something that I think about. What if I wouldn't? Because I thought about not applying because I was like, well, because you had all this criteria. I was like, ooh, I don't, it's like when you're applying for a job and you're like, I don't know, I meet like 60% of the criteria. Should I really apply for this? And there's just something I was like, I don't know, go for it. Like, what the heck? Just give it a whirl. And I remember I was working at a YMCA in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That was one of my, like, as I was building my business, I worked all these other odd jobs because we were also single income. Ben was still in school. And so I taught classes at that YMCA, but then also I picked up hours working out what was called like, I don't know, like the wellness desk, but it was basically like I sat there on like the weight room floor and like answered people's questions and like checked out like pickleball rackets and stuff. It was like, that like every big gym has, that person that's like, it's not the front desk, but it's like where you can ask questions, get towels, sign up, whatever. So I was sitting there and I was being a little bit naughty because I was on my phone. It was a quiet day at the gym and I just was dreaming of building yoga for you. And so I was just like scrolling on Yoga Trade and I happened to see this and I was like, oh gosh, that would be such a dream. I'd only done like a couple sort of like local retreats, but I was like, to do like a big international retreat, like what a dream. And I was just sitting there working this like, and I'm grateful for this job, help pay the bills, but just sitting there working the wellness desk at the YMCA years ago. And I was like, oh, what a dream. I was like, I only meet like 60% of the criteria, but what the heck? Like I'll apply for it. Let's see what happens. And like totally changed my life. Like it brought us together and like my life has never been the same because I happened to just be working this random job and being on my phone when I wasn't supposed to be. And I don't know, I thought, what the heck, let's give it a whirl. Totally just changed my life course.
Yeah. So I think sometimes we just need to
just go for it.
Just go for it.
Just go for it. So if you want to just go for it, to wrap it all up, so that code again is New Friends, all caps, and it's going to be $300 off a spot in a double or a triple room. Again, you can bring a friend, and you guys can both use that code. We love to see friends that come and travel together. We have 6 spots left in the retreat as we're recording this. It's going to go live in a couple of days. So as of Monday, April 21st, we have 6 spots left. And yeah, if you're listening to this and you think you want to come, we would love to see you. These things do fill up pretty quickly. As we know, Scotland filled up really fast and it had a pretty hefty wait list. So if it is sold out when you're checking this out, join the wait list because sometimes people's plans do change and spots sometimes do open up even after it's been sold out. Is there anything people need to know logistically, Daniela?
No, I will just say that this offer is exclusive to the podcast.
Yes.
So we're
only speaking it here. We're not going to share it anywhere else. It's only for Mindful in Minutes listeners because we love you guys so much.
Yeah. And it's just super exciting. I thank you for bringing me on the podcast once again.
I am so excited that you're here and that we could talk about this together and kind of give people just like a little insight into the conversations that we have because like we plan these things for so long and so far in advance that then by the time I actually get to like announce it and release it, we've been working on it for so long. And I think it's just kind of fun to get to share kind of behind the curtain a little bit as to like the conversations that we have when we're designing and creating and even leading all the way up to the actual thing when we're like assigning people rooms and there's just so much intention in everything that I don't know, I'm excited to be able to have you on to talk about this.
Kelly.